All right, well, here's the top half of the Premier League standings. Arsenal now up to second place, 2 points behind Liverpool, and that is making our Stevie Nicol feel very, very uncomfortable beside us. But at the moment, let's welcome in Frank Leboeuf, our world champion, and of course, Nader Manoa. Talk about a sight for sore eyes. But Stevie, let me quickly start with you. You say it doesn't make you feel uncomfortable. Arsenal gaining ground on Liverpool. Is this a statement win from the Gunners?
I don't think it's a statement win. I think they got what they deserved, to be honest. I mean, they dominated this game, in my opinion. They were by far the...
Come on, let's start on a fair note. Don't be a sore loser. I'm not saying you support Liverpool. This was a statement win. People cannot agree on that basis. But I never said no, that's why they're talking in rubbish. You have to first, that's ground zero. It is a statement win. Don't go to become sore loser because you're dining Liverpool.
Bit aside. And actually, the man, Nick Pope, that kept Newcastle in this game, he had at least 3 world-class saves in this game. They kept them in the game. But unfortunately, the man that kept them in the game cost him 2 points right at the end because he made a complete and utter mess of the ball that was floated in. But if you take that away, what is he doing trying to play out from the back? Oh. Newcastle couldn't breathe. They hadn't been able to breathe for about the previous 20, 25, whatever minutes. And all of a sudden, in the 94th minute, he's trying to rush and play a ball to... I don't know who, because there was nobody up front, and it ends up costing them. So, listen, if you look at the big picture, Arsenal deserve to win this game 100%.
Nader, is that how you see it as well?
Yeah, that's exactly how I see it. And I think it's good that Stevie mentioned that point for Pope when he tries to make that quick counter-attack. And he did one previously from a throw. But it's just not the right time to be doing it. Newcastle were under so much pressure for probably the last half hour of that game, if not longer. So maybe he's just trying to take the sting out of the game a little bit. But, you know, it's just a reminder for the way that football is, because he was great for every other minute in the game. He was great. But those last 2 minutes, some of the decision-making, it's cost his side. And as you saw from that set piece where they scored at the end, he was nowhere near being close enough to come out to get it. But he's thinking, I need to impact it. I need to impact it. But he needs to just sort of deal with that in a different manner. And those little mistakes that make such a big difference. And to, you know, we're talking about Newcastle, to talk about Arsenal, I thought overall it was a really good performance. Going up there to play against Newcastle, it's always a tough, hostile affair. But in fairness, Arsenal mixed it with Newcastle. They had the strength, they had the power. There was also little bits of nice play with the likes of Eze and so on. And then you also knew that there was going to be a chance from the set piece. And the more they push and they push and they push, if you are to get points away from them, you have to sort of manage those moments. But Newcastle, for as much as they were good for the 94 minutes, you've got to go all the way till the end. And that goal coming in, it's a great delivery. But again, we've seen a goalkeeper basically being pinned by Saliba, and this is all part of the plan. They get their head to it. They've got big players in the box, and it's a deserving win for them. And when they were going crazy in the corner, I think it's very much deserved, because I think for them to finally beat Newcastle after the recent games they've had against them in the cup, in the league, and so on, I think they'll take a lot of belief from that game.
Frank, what did you think about the game? A couple of the points that the boys pointed out here, you know, of course, questionable decision-making by some of the Newcastle players, especially the goalkeeper. Or does it just show Arsenal's mental fortitude to get this win?
Yeah, I've been impressed by the Gunners at the end of the game. I thought they will maybe give up because Nick Pope was on fire, but they deserve to win. There is no contest for me. They worked hard. They tried better than Newcastle. Newcastle fought hard, but not the same level of values, I would say, comparing to the two teams. But I want to talk about the referees. I mean, the referees in the world generally, where they need to have uniform decisions. I mean, I completely agree with the fact that there is no penalty on Pop, but I remember Roberto Sanchez doing exactly the same last week, touching the ball, and the referee gave him a red card and a free kick. Then after, on the Gabriel handball, I remember Champions League, last goal from Real Madrid, against Marseille, penalty, tackle from Medina, he touched the ball, and then he touched with his hand, was on the floor, and they gave a penalty. So I don't know where to stand anymore. They should have, again, a uniform decision to make sure that we understand the football. And it's not randomly, one ref gives something, another one doesn't, and the other one doesn't. So, but otherwise, I saw a great game of football, especially the first half, and especially from the Gunners. And again, that was crucial for them to score that second goal. Yeah, Nick Pope, Stevie, he made 3 fantastic saves, but the corner kick that they have, then when the Gunners score, is because Nick Pope tries to win the game and kick the ball like stupidly loses the ball, and there is a counter-attack, there is a corner kick, and there is a goal for Arsenal. And now sometimes you have to know how to draw. You have to stop, calm down, and maybe get the 1 point. That's much better than 0.
But you have to put into context that Newcastle also felt they could win the game. Because 90 minutes, and you have end-to-end stuff. There's chaos everywhere. Newcastle are bringing in new players. When you remove Voltemad and you put in Osula, that's an attacking talent now. They themselves won't win. You get. So at the end of the day, it turned out that Arsenal won. Don't come and say Newcastle should be settling for a draw. They wanted to win also. Just like Liverpool wanted to also beat Crystal Palace for that 9 minutes. When Crystal Palace can't counter them, can't go beat them. Everybody want to win. So you have to say you favor Arsenal. You get. If to say as Nick Pope told you, they're going to go swear, go talk about this one. Why would they settle for a draw at the St. James's Park when they think they could have won? So I don't buy that idea.
Oh, not the playing for a draw. That's the last thing we want to hear. But Ale, we were, of course, on the Barcelona game, but you were keeping a close eye on this one, and the officiating made you go, as well.
Well, to Frank's point, and he's addressing the Marseille penalty or against Marseille for Real Madrid, and I would tell Frank, well, this handball, pretension handball today, was far more of a penalty than that one was against Medina and against Marseille for Real Madrid. And yet this one was not given, and for the life of me, I couldn't understand it. And they're looking at the video, and I'm thinking, well, I guess they're looking for a touch of the shin, but that arm is all the way up here, and if there was a touch by the shin, it really doesn't change the ball flight at all whatsoever. That ball is going to that arm no matter what.
It's like a graze, a little shin.
And look.
But then is that not what Frank's talking about, though? Frank's talking about, can we get some generality across the board? If it does touch the shin, regardless of how hard, then it's a deflection, isn't it?
Yeah, but
that negates it.
The point that Frank just made is that a play that was less of a handball was given as a penalty in Champions League 3-4 days ago. And so
which is wrong.
Okay, maybe so. I'm saying that this was more of a penalty than that one. I don't know what your point is, to be honest with you.
The point.
What the point is that this point is that none of them should have been a penalty. That's the point. That even the one in Madrid, the Marcelo, should not have been given.
I thought you said that there was no touch. You didn't think there was a touch.
If there was a touch, it was the slightest of touches.
And that's my point. It doesn't matter if it's the slightest of touches. Across the board, if it's a ricochet and it hits your hand, regardless of where your hand is, then it shouldn't be a penalty.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I think you... Go ahead, Frank.
Yeah, sorry. I think you are agreeing. In fact, I think the referee didn't give the penalty because supposedly Gabriel touched the ball with his shin. Whatever. The inconsistency of their decision is demergeable for the football, where again Medina tackles, it doesn't barely touches the ball with his hand, which is already on the floor, so it doesn't affect anything in the game. Comparing to, and I agree with Ali, Gabriel lifting his hand is being touched, and we don't care if he's being touched by his part of his body before, but they have to clear it up, to explain to us what's going on, because we don't get it. Even in the studio right now, we're not able to explain what kind of decision we have seen from referees. So it's getting insane in a way that it's too stupid.
Yeah, and the other thing I would say is, while I think the result ends up being fair in regards to Arsenal deserving to win against Newcastle, what's unfair, because see, football can be fair and unfair at the same time. It's unfair that Gabriel ends up scoring the game-winning goal, where you can argue that perhaps he should not have been on the field because he was upset that Voltemada had scored on him, and right off the kickoff, he went and gave the old sort of forearm kind of fist shove to the face of Voltemada. And nothing happened. There's a lot of finger pointing and nothing happened. But he went straight at Voltemada with the ball being nowhere near in play or nowhere near them too. So, look, you want to talk about fairness? There's no fairness in this game. Fairness doesn't account for anything. In the end, Gabriel goes home with 3 points, celebrating, scoring a game-winning goal, and Nick Voltemada is sitting in the bench going... We just lost again.
Siempre a mí. Siempre a mí. Nadim, let's bring in Nadim, because Nadim's always the coolest head on this panel. I saw you scratching your goatee that you don't have over there, Nadim. Where do you stand in all of this?
In regards to the refereeing decision, I think I'm with Frank in the fact that you want the referees to almost educate you in terms of like what we're supposed to see, because for as much as we've played the game, we don't know every sort of line of that rule book as such. But with the handball, I think essentially the issue comes because the referee didn't give it. I reckon if the referee did give the penalty, I don't think they would have said we're going to overturn it. But instead, they're looking for a grace to confirm the referee's decision as such. And it did feel strange in the time because you're sort of thinking, well, was that right? Was that wrong? But to go the other way and to give credit. So for the penalty, the one on Gyökeres, I didn't think it was a penalty, but I only thought that after they confirmed that something was to be looked at. I did not see that touch to start with. And then the moment they say that the touch is there, it changes your perception of it. And I think the way that they describe it in terms of like Pope touched the ball first, then the man, all of a sudden I can buy into that a bit more. But it's one of those deciding things where Arsenal fans will be adamant it's a penalty, Newcastle adamant that it's not. But the handball one, I think the one in Marseille Real Madrid probably feels a bit different if my memory serves me right in terms of the referee giving the decision. But on this time, because the referee didn't give it, I think it would have taken a lot for him to go the other way. So it's a bit confusing, but essentially, I think in the end, fairness sort of reigns in some ways.
So is Nadim saying that for him it was a penalty or not? Because there was a lot of coming and going, and I don't know that you took an actual position.
What I was talking about process, Ali. I was talking about process because the referee didn't give the penalty. The decision is harder to overturn. Whereas I think if he did, they'd probably say the opposite. So I don't think it's a penalty because technically speaking, it's brushed his leg. But he's very, very lucky in the fact that it has brushed his leg because it's so minute, as you guys say. But if we say that every time it touches his leg, it shouldn't matter, before you know it, there'll be some penalties being given, which, again, we'd probably not agree with. So I'm OK with it, technically speaking, according to the law.
Oh, boy. Technically speaking, trust the process is what I say.
So what they need to do then, they all need to get together and make a rule. I mean, how difficult can it be that we just unilaterally go, right, if the ball ricochets off, a part of your body then hits your hand regardless, it's not a penalty. But if it doesn't, it is. I mean, is that so difficult? I mean, the Real Madrid one, we all know is completely wrong. We all know that's completely wrong. But at least let's get to a position where we know exactly what is and what isn't.
Stevie,
regardless of whether we argue whether we think it's right or wrong. If we say, right, this is what's going to happen if this situation happens, whether you think it's right or whether you think it's wrong, this is how the game's going to be refereed. And then at least we kind of know what is and what isn't, regardless of our own opinion whether it should or shouldn't be.
Stevie, football has always been a game of interpretation as well, you know, so it's very hard to be strict and formal. But when you see an action like Gabriel, you cannot deny, and I'm sorry, the coolest guy in the panel today, you know, that I'm sorry, you're wrong, my dear, because it's obvious. And we don't care, and he's been touched by another part of the body. It's absolutely obvious. Why, you didn't see the handball? Yeah, I take an appointment with you for the eye doctor. You didn't see the handball.
My whole point is that in the game today, never ever before has there been such confusion about something.
No.
Never before. We at least had good ideas and we accepted things. Now, I mean, the four of us have got 1,000, maybe 2,000 games between the four of us. But we all are not quite sure what should and shouldn't be or is or isn't. I mean, that's ridiculous.
I would invite all of you to take Nadim's approach to this. Clearly, he's far more relaxed about all of it. Just trust the process. Trust the process.
Right.
Trust the technicalities.
Right.
We'll be good. It's fine.
Trust the
it's
process.
good. Trust the process.
Yeah, but we love you. Nadim, we love you. So don't be offended by what we said. We love you. And you're still our favorites.
But speaking of Nadim, let me come to you now about what we saw from Arsenal. How impressed by Mikel Arteta's men are you?
Yeah, I'm very impressed, to be honest. And I think one of the more impressive parts about it was the fact that there were key players who say weren't playing, like Odegaard, the captain, for example. You know, in years gone by, you've seen Ben White sort of dominate on that right-hand side. I thought Mosquera did well, apart from, you know, giving away the corner that led to the goal. And you can see the sort of opportunities that they have in midfield as well. Martinelli coming off the bench. You've got Marino coming off the bench. You've got, like, Madueke essentially is coming in a few weeks as well. So that depth is really interesting because I thought previously with Arsenal, the depth that they had was one whereby when one or two players stepped out, you saw a complete change in how they played. They didn't feel as dangerous, didn't feel like the same sort of side. But it seems at the moment, whichever 11 he puts out, you know the job that they're going to do. You know, you're talking about Miles Lewis-Skelly, a youngster coming on who's an England international to replace an Italian international. You've got options at the back, you know, you've got options in midfield, and it can look however it needs to look. Eze, for example, someone starting off his career at Arsenal as well. So I was impressed, and I think going up to Newcastle, and this is like a longer piece as such, but historically Arsenal were known for their soft centre. That doesn't exist anymore. You could argue they're probably one of the strongest, toughest, and almost like at times bully sides in the Premier League. But you add to that the fact that playing against a low block like Newcastle had today, they create some real good opportunities through really nice bits of play because they've also got some fantastic footballers in there as well. So that balance and the opportunities that they have and the players have available right now, it does give you a positive outlook. And again, I said it before, for them to beat Newcastle, finally, because if you look back at the last 3-4 games, it's been really tough for them. That's a monkey off their back because they've shown that they can do it. And this Newcastle side would have thought that they had Arsenal's number, but today in the end, they absolutely did not.
No be lie.